Well, we've all been there. One day you're playing and it looks like this.
You want the kind of game that Elden Ring is.
You weren't.
So I'm like kind of waiting. I've got res on, but
And then the very next day, you play like this. Anyway, you get the point. Everyone wishes they could perform at their peak all the time, but unfortunately that just isn't the case. There are far too many variables that affect our consistency. However, with this list of habits, you can bring your average performance up a lot closer to your peak performance. These habits are things that I do personally, and I know a lot of other players also do to get a more consistent performance in-game. A lot of these habits will not only improve your performance just in games, but your overall brain function and performance in day-to-day tasks. Now, bear with me as I go through these, because some of you might find them a little strange or abnormal, but these are things that other people don't really talk about when making these types of videos, and I wanted to give some unique tips, some unique habits, and things that I know genuinely improved my performance and consistency overall. So let's get started. Now, this first one may seem a bit strange to some people. Like I said, meditating before you play video games? Well, personally, I try to meditate at least 15 to 20 minutes each day. And no, I don't do this to perform better in video games. I originally got into meditation as a way of relieving anxiety and stress, and just feeling more focused and better overall. It's been proven to have a shitload of benefits for your body and your mind. The first time I actually noticed how much of an effect it had on my performance in video games was about 2 years ago. Now, before this point, I was meditating, but I hadn't done it in quite a while, and I was experiencing some pretty intense anxiety over something, so I started meditating again. Every single morning, I was meditating for 20 to 30 minutes as soon as I woke up. Also, around this time, I was doing a lot of aim training. I had some peak scores that I had been struggling to beat for almost a month. Now, from the first day of meditating for 20 to 30 minutes when I woke up, I was able to beat my high scores every single day for about 4 to 5 days straight. I felt much more focused, my hand felt calmer, and I felt like I was able to break into that flow state much easier. Now, I think it was about a 5-day streak where I beat my grid shot score on Aim Lab by 1 to 2,000 each day. This was without a doubt a direct result of meditating and the positive effects it was having on my mind. Meditation is something that I would recommend to anyone and everyone. I won't go into detail about all the benefits it has on your brain. You can easily find that information online. But it's a great effect on your performance in almost any task, and this includes aiming and video games. This is another one that has a massive positive effect on your body and your mind and will increase your performance in basically anything. Now, obviously, good sleep and diet is super important, and pretty much everyone knows that. If your brain isn't getting enough fuel and rest, it's just not going to perform at its peak, and this is very, very noticeable in games. Games where at any moment you're thinking about aiming, positioning, ability cooldowns, teammates' positions, and so on. There are so many different things you have to be thinking about at any given time in games. Your brain needs to be running on all cylinders, and it just can't do that if it's not well fueled and well rested. I know this one seems a bit obvious, but I think there are a lot of people that wouldn't even consider this a factor in why they're having an inconsistent performance in game. Make sure you eat well, sleep well, and you'll find you'll have a lot more energy, focus, and happiness in general, and I guarantee you'll perform a lot better and a lot more consistently when aiming. Now, this one and the next two habits will be much more specific to actually gaming. If you're playing on a cloth mousepad and you're not cleaning it at all, or the pad is just super old, you're going to notice that the surface of the pad becomes very inconsistent to move your mouse across. Now, personally, I play on a glass mousepad, and one of the many reasons I actually prefer to play on glass is because of how consistent it feels to play on. It's super easy to clean, and it doesn't get affected by humidity like cloth pads do. However, one thing that is more prone to happen when playing on a glass pad is your mouse feet wearing down to nothing. I recently bought a couple new sets of mouse feet for my G Pro wireless. This is what my mouse looked like beforehand. You can see how worn down the mouse feet are. One side is basically worn to nothing. Now this felt like absolute shit to aim on, and I didn't even realize what the problem was for about a full day, but I could just feel for that whole day my aim felt very off. I then realized just how fucked my mouse feet actually were. I ordered a couple of new pairs and I switched over to one of my other mice while I waited those few days for my delivery to arrive. Now as soon as I switched over to that other mouse with the actual good mouse feet on it, I could immediately notice the difference of how good my aim felt in comparison. It felt much more like my normal performance, felt smoother, way more consistent. So if you are playing on a glass mouse pad, definitely keep an eye on your mouse feet, maybe order a couple of extra pairs and just change them over when they need to be changed over. It's going to make you much more consistent when aiming. Now for cloth pads, when I used to play on a cloth pad, I would try and clean it at least every couple of weeks. And I would always wash my hands and forearms before I played, which of course is going to help keep the pad a lot cleaner for a lot longer. If you do need to clean your mouse pad and you're not sure how, it's as easy as some dishwashing liquid, some lukewarm water, and a sponge. If you've never cleaned your pad, give it a clean and watch how much filthy water comes out of it. You'll probably be very surprised, and it will feel way better to aim on, I can guarantee you that. Now I spoke about grip and posture in a video I made a few years ago about aiming, but I think I've learned a lot since then, so I wanted to touch on this topic once more. Again, very obvious, you should have a consistent posture when you play. Something that's comfortable for you, with your back straight, your arm the same position, and your face the same distance from the monitor. As for grip, I'm not talking about how you actually put your hand on your mouse, I'm talking about how hard you grip your mouse. This is a big one that made my aim much smoother and much more consistent. I grip my mouse very gently and very light, and I know a lot of other good aimers also do this. However, I do also know good aimers that use a much tighter grip on their mouse. I think it's all preference, although I do believe tracking and smoothness is much better with a gentle grip. But the main thing is just keeping that pressure of your grip consistent each time. Using a very gentle grip is likely going to be a lot easier to replicate each time than a tighter grip, but again, it is just preference. Some people find that having a tighter grip on their mouse will make them feel more precise and just have better aim overall, and compared to a gentle grip where it can feel like you have not as much control. It is all preference, but just try to keep that pressure consistent each time, and I guarantee you'll notice more consistency in your performance if you do this properly. Now, when it comes to the actual act of aiming, I think few things are as important as this one. We've all heard the saying, keep your eye on the ball. Not only does this apply in a lot of different ways and can even be used as a metaphor, but when it comes to actually aiming, this is one of the most important things you can do. Keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on the target. The best example I've seen that shows the effect of focusing your eyes in action is by fellow Aussie content creator and aim enthusiast Struth. The example he gives in one of his videos is with a ceiling fan. Now, if we just look at the center of this fan, it looks like it's moving pretty fast. But now if we actually focus our eyes on an individual blade and follow it around in circles, it seems like the speed is almost cut in half. This works just the same in game. If you can work on actively focusing your eyes on the target that you're aiming at, don't just look at your monitor, don't just look at your crosshair, focus on the actual target. You can even focus on their head to get better headshot accuracy. Now, once mastered, the effect that this actually has on your aim is honestly pretty amazing. Might take a bit of practice and warming up to get into this habit, but I guarantee this will make your aim feel much smoother, much more precise, and basically make your targets appear like they are moving in slow motion in comparison to when you're not focusing your eyes.